anyone who comes to my trainings will notice that I never mention that. Like, I don't, it has nothing to do with what is today. I mean, the whole work is being present in the now, and that was what, 20 years ago. So whatever happened in then was meant to happen and was a part of my development and a part and it, and as you asked me, how did that maybe influence this whole who I am today, is basically it allowed me to experience the world of someone who is in who experiences fame, who experiences
Hey Natural Biohacker, what's up? Today we have an episode in the English and we have a really special guest, a woman. Her name is Mahara Mckay. She used to be a Swiss model and even won the title Miss Switzerland in the year 2000. She is born in New Zealand to a Maori father and Swiss mother. And she was brought up until the age of 10, surrounded by a big spiritual Maori family. And she calls herself a seeker of truth and now discovers her spiritual roots. She works with her new passion, facilitating courses in Tantric and Shamanic Arts, yoga, meditation, and dance for personal growth, authenticity, transformation, and love. Really interesting. Today we talk about her 2 different life cycles and about her work now and then. Very welcome, Mahara.
Hey, how is it?
Really nice that you are here. Where are you at right now?
Actually, I'm surprised at all of the information you managed to pack into 1 minute. I should copy that from you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Cool. You're in India right now, huh? In Goa, you said?
In Goa. Yes, exactly.
How's the life in Goa at these interesting times?
Well, to be honest, the lockdown happened really suddenly, and for the beginning of it, for the first 2-3 days, it was quite challenging because a lot of people had no food and didn't know where to buy food or water. So it was quite scary for a lot of people that weren't prepared, or which was most of the people. So luckily, my partner and I, we had like a little bit of rice and dal to manage through worst case scenario for about a month. So we were quite we weren't like on the starving or anything. So for some people it was quite scary in the beginning, but then afterwards they did a really good job here in Goa. The government, I must say, they did an amazing job, and now we're feeling super blessed. Like today, on the 20th of April, we got basically 0 cases of corona here, so we're in a green zone and enjoying here and there walks on the beach and stuff, so it's beautiful.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I discovered your work through Gülşah. It's a good friend of yours, a Swiss comedian. And me and my girlfriend were once on her show in Switzerland and followed her then on social media. And then there was a really interesting video where she could take part on your work and your coaching. And it was like they screaming in cushions, doing breath work, shadow work. What has this to do with the seeking for one's own inner truth? And maybe you can just give the audience a small summary about your work.
Okay, so a small summary of the work is basically I'm just sharing what has worked for me personally. So since many years I've basically since 16 I've been kind of on the hunt for truth, and always
Hmm.
followed my heart. So kind of, you said before I call myself a seeker of truth. Well, actually, I like
Yeah.
to say seeker of truth and warrior of love.
Oh,
So
nice.
those two things are like my main intentions in whichever classes or workshops or trainings I hold. And basically anyone who is a rebel or or
Yeah.
is courageous enough to look deep inside, look deep within, to face their shadows and face their truth, or find out what is their truth, they are in the right place with me.
Mhm. Really, really nice work. Really interesting way. So I talked in the intro that you used to be, or that you are, a Swiss model, and you even won the title Miss Switzerland. And normally it's a little bit, for me, maybe it's a little bit contrary to a mostly spiritual lifestyle. So maybe I'm not right, but so this what I see, maybe in my truth. But what was the way through through this path, going to this really um, yeah, this really world like the Swiss models, and to being on maybe on the television, and now how it fits into the spiritual work you do right now?
Well, first of all, I'm quite surprised that it seems like I'm never going to get rid of that title. But
Sorry.
that was in the year 2000. So anyone who
Mhm.
comes to my trainings will notice that I never mention um, that. Like I don't, you know, it has nothing to do with
Mhm.
what is today. I mean, the whole work is being present in the now, and that was what,
Yeah.
20 years ago. So
Yeah.
yeah, whatever happened in then was meant to happen and was a part of my development and a
Mm.
part and as you asked me, you know, what, how did that maybe influence this whole, or who I am today, is basically it allowed me to experience the world of someone who is in who experiences fame, who experiences everyone wanting a piece of you, who
Mhm.
experiences a lot of false people because they just want to connect with you for other reasons than of love or
Yeah.
care. It was a very interesting time in my life, and it feels so far back. But I'm very grateful for those years of experiencing that world to really come back to understanding. And I think because of that experience, I was 19 at that time, literally
Yeah.
20 years ago, in
Mm.
2000. So I it allowed me with a very young age to see what I don't want. Um,
Mhm.
I did not enjoy the limelight, the attention, the falseness or fakeness around certain things that the job
Mm.
carried.
Yeah.
However, there were a lot of amazing, fun things as well. I got to travel a lot. I got to meet a lot of interesting people. It definitely was enriching for my personal development in one side from a very hard negative or like in a shadow aspect, but also in a very mind opening way as well. Because how do we know what fame feels like if you've never experienced it? And I think that's
Yes.
why I also have a lot of like, I have a lot of like models or people who, you know, are maybe not wanting you know, people to treat them in different, as a different being just because they look, you know, might be famous or because they're beautiful, or you know, they want to understand or be accepted as a just like you and me, you know, like they want to. And
Mhm.
it's I'm very I put a lot of weight on teaching in that way or holding space in that way so that everyone feels the same in terms of we're all just flesh and blood and we all have our
Yeah.
issues and we all have our fears and we all are unique in our own way, but no one gets treated in a special or different way. And I think
Mm,
that's where then this space of unity, of tribe, of oneness then comes alive when everyone starts to feel equal and can put their
mm,
part. Like it never is about, oh, so where do you come from, or oh, what
yeah.
job, or what's your history. Really, nothing matters about your history. Nobody cares about what you do. It's really
Mm,
about what are you bringing into this room, into this space, and how brave are you to work on yourself, and how open are you to allow love in and out as
mm.
well.
And are there, in despite of that, are there like principles in your family time? So, like I talk about you, you came from a spiritual Maori family, and are there principles at this time you try to, yeah, feel more in this time after your model career, and yeah, take this deep dive into inner work?
Sorry, I just lost you a little bit there, connection wise. Can you just repeat,
Yeah,
summarize that
yeah.
sentence again? Sorry.
Yes, of course. Um, I mentioned that you grew up in a very spiritual, big family. So your
Yes.
father is a Maori, your mother is Swiss, and you're brought up there. And are there principles in this time, in this really young age, you try to now rejuvenate a little bit in the later years, maybe after your model career?
Oh, yeah, no, it happened all the time. So basically, I lived in New Zealand until I was 10, and then my parents separated. So I went back with my brother and my mom to Switzerland.
Hmm.
And I immediately felt like, I got homesick. I missed the mentality of New Zealand people. I really did not feel like I belonged in Switzerland, and it took me a long time
Yeah.
to actually feel like I fitted in. Like I constantly felt
Hmm.
like a bit of an alien. So I
Yeah.
didn't. I remember the one time I went to school. It was a hot summer day, and I went barefoot to school, and the
Hmm.
teacher then asked, because we didn't have a lot of money, and she knew this, and she was coming from a heart space. She asked the class if they could donate money so I could, buy shoes. But it,
Really?
yeah, and it really,
Wow.
like, it put me to shame so much. Like I felt so ashamed, and that I never walked barefoot again until I was in my teenage years, where I was more of a rebel and thought, now purposely
Yeah.
I'm going to walk barefoot.
Yeah.
uh, just
And this is
because
the
everyone's
system.
looking
Yeah.
at me weird.
This is the system. Like you do something naturally and from your own pace, and then the system comes in and try to say, yeah, you don't have enough money, or why you can't buy
Mm.
shoes. And yeah, this is a little bit difficult in Switzerland, Germany, the European countries. Yeah.
Yeah, so it took
Yeah.
me quite a while
I
to
know that too.
adjust, and also the language. Like I didn't speak fluent. I didn't speak German, so I had to first learn German, then Swiss German, then Italian, French. All these.
Yeah.
Oh, are you still there? Yeah. So for Yeah, I every year I was lucky that my father was working for Air New Zealand, so every year we were able to fly standby, which means you're not paying for the flights. So
Hmm.
we were able to fly standby and go back to New Zealand or to Hawaii or Tahiti, where other family members of ours live. So those basically places where I could connect more to, let's say, a more humble lifestyle, a more grounded,
Hmm.
close to nature lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that really did
Okay.
every time, like, get me back onto my it just humbled me every time, because I could see how I was changing in Switzerland and how I was getting more and more away from the spiritual world. And then every time I went to visit
Mm,
my family, I would come back to nature, come back to
mm.
spirit, to myself, and yeah, I needed
So
that.
now, right now, you don't live anymore in Switzerland. Is that right?
Yeah, I left Switzerland, I think, when I was like 27 or something. I moved to
Yeah.
LA for a partner, then moved to Berlin, and then lived in back in Zurich, and then New Zealand again. And yeah, just kind of like finding out where I belong, really. And my mom always said, you can keep moving, you're never going to find the right place, because in every place you go, there's always going to be something you like and something you don't like. And in a way, she's right.
Of course. Yeah.
But also, it helped me to find more and more what I don't like through this moving through, because for me, I'm really a person who needs to like experience it myself, and that's really the only
Mm,
way to find out what your truth is by experiencing things yourself, not having a teacher tell you this is how it is. It's like you
mm,
for example, all I do in my trainings is I hold the space and give exercises for people to dive into, and
mhm,
depending on how open they dive into it, without judgment, without fear, um, then they will have the experience. And everyone's experience looks different, and everyone's downloads or understandings, insights, however you want to call it, again, is
yeah.
different. And then through the sharings that we have with each other, people discover then, oh, wow, they then learn from the others' shares as well.
Okay. Let's zoom in a little bit to your journey, into your travel. How this trip affected you and your growth? Yeah. You've been to different places and lived there and make some workshops. Or what was your approach for this travel to yourself and in the outer world as well?
So basically, I've been now on the road since 3 years again. I did 1 year travel. That the first time I went backpacking, where I sold everything at home, actually, but was thanks to a knee accident where I had to operate my knee, and I had to cancel all my. I was a DJ for 10 years, and I had like a
Mhm.
whole lineup. I had to cancel everything, and it was quite frustrating at the time. But that was the first time, because like right now in a lockdown, right, you're forced to actually look
Yeah.
at yourself. And so I was grateful for that. Now looking back, it was a blessing, because I realized, since 10 years I'm just like following the dreams that I had when I was 20, but do I actually still want that? Like, am I actually still that person? And I realized, no, I'm not. And actually, my dreams have changed, and I don't, So, what are they, and what
Mm.
do I want to be? And so, I was 30 at that time, and I was a bit nervous in terms of I could feel this silent voice in me telling
Yeah.
me it's gonna be you're gonna have to change your life radically, and
Mhm.
there was a lot of fear to that. And so I kind of like didn't want to hear that voice.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, let's just go on a world trip. And so I sold everything and went with my partner at that time on a world trip. And luckily we started the trip in India, in Rishikesh,
Mhm.
where there is no alcohol. And a friend of ours said, yeah, if you want to save a lot of money while traveling and travel longer, then don't drink. So
Yeah.
we took that as an invitation to not drink, and Rishikesh was easy because you couldn't get it anywhere. And then I thought to myself, well, I was doing yoga, breath work for the first, not yoga. I started yoga in 2004, but breath work I did for the first time there. And so
Mhm.
then I thought, oh well, actually I didn't really miss it. So let's just see how long we can do without it. And so that's how I then got off. drinking.
Mm.
And not that I was a heavy drinker, but Europe is
Yeah.
kind of standard, having a beer and wine all the time,
Yeah.
prosecco. So yeah, it was a really good way to start the journey and really find this connection with my soul, this connection with my body, and especially it started with me very intensely, this connection with my breath. I had the hugest insights through connecting with my breath, and it allowed my mind to slow down. So I did a month training in the Himalayas on breath work, and
Wow.
it was fascinating, and I had incredible insights. And when I was then, like half a year later, I was in Fiji on this magical island. It was like 10 minutes you walk around the island and that's it. I was
Wow.
tiny and we were like only 7 people on that island. And it was just magical. And I only was going to go there for one day because there's no running water, no electricity. And we thought we'll just do a stop there for one night. And that one night turned into 10 nights, and and it was just magical. Every morning I'd get up and meditate and do breath work to sunrise,
Mm.
and on the 8th day or something I had this amazing
Yeah.
samadhi experience, and
Mm.
literally just had
This is also what.
all the
Yeah.
downloads I needed. And so I went back to Switzerland then after a year, and I told my mom, okay, which was really funny because
Yeah.
I was actually a successful DJ. And then I came back to Switzerland and I said to my mom, okay, I'm packing my bags. I'm moving to New Zealand where nobody knows me. I need to get away from people, from comment. Like I just didn't want any newspapers writing about me or my new path or my new interest in walking a new path. I just didn't want anyone to give their 5 cents to whatever it was that I was doing. So I thought,
Mm.
okay, let's go to the South Island of New Zealand where I literally didn't know anyone. And I told my mom I was gonna teach how to meditate, and she looked at me as if I was an absolute alien and thought, how on earth are you going to make an income teaching people to meditate? Have you lost your mind? And I don't
Mm.
know what it was that, I mean, if I looked at it from my mind, I would say, yes, looks like I lost my mind. But
Mm.
um,
What she
something.
says now. What she says
Oh
now to
yeah,
you.
she doesn't say anything anymore. Like I've proved her so many times, like so many times I've told her I want to do something and she thought I was crazy, and every time,
Yeah.
I proved her wrong. So now she just looks at me with big eyes and is like, okay, well, wish you luck. You know best. But yeah, I mean, she did make me then wonder, and I was like, oh, she might be right. But the thing was that once, and this is why meditation is so incredibly amazing, is because when you tap into that source, into that deep, like, that's your truth, and no one can take that and no one can fake that. And if you
Mm.
tap into that space that knows everything, then you just know. And then no matter how weird the things sound, you just know, and no one's going to hold you back, unless your fear is the only one that can hold you back. But if you don't, and I learned from young age not to care what others think. So I mean, I always never was able to get rid of it fully, like especially when I was in the whole mist thing. It was difficult what others think, because constantly they write about every step you take. So did not like it at all, but I did get good at it, and now I'm pretty pretty good at it. Every now and then it creeps in
Mm.
again, but yeah. So coming to your source is definitely the way forward, because in that silence, in that deep truth, is like you can if you want to not listen to that voice, you're just
Yeah.
constantly gonna make barriers for yourself. Like even if because
Yeah.
the thing is that voice, that deep, subtle, like that, you can't hear it with
Mm.
your ears, you feel it with your whole being. So
Mm.
if you ignore that, then you're just constantly gonna be walking into a wall. and
Mm.
and the reason why people don't follow it is because of fear, or because it takes so much work and so much
Yeah.
letting go and so much change, and people don't like change. they're not
Yeah.
flexible to change. They like patterns, they like habits, they like knowing what's coming. But that's the
Yeah.
beauty of the unknown, is you don't know what's coming.
Yeah, and when you travel, you go through the unknown, and then
Exactly.
you are also more creative, more in a kind of
Yeah.
flow, and
Yeah.
then it's more easy to meditate and to be open for yoga and other spiritual practice. This
Of
is my
course.
experience.
Of course,
Yeah,
and that's what you see with all travelers. I mean, people who
yeah,
tend to go backpacking or traveling a lot, especially people who go on a like cheap budget, because they really have to surrender and be creative and find ways.
yeah,
They're all very open, very
hmm,
flexible, very creative, very like,
yeah.
yeah, because that's the root of it. I mean,
Mm.
so it definitely
Could you?
helps if you tend to be fearful to change. It definitely helps to start inviting the unknown, and it can be in simple, subtle, small ways. You can do baby steps. For example, go to
Yeah.
new restaurants that you don't know, or
Hmm.
but try inviting the unknown as much as possible. So you start to become curious about it and more excited rather than fearful about it.
Yeah, and it's also so important to go out of some systems, maybe. Yeah, not just like the big step, like you and I did, to go out of Switzerland or out of Germany and travel the world, but also maybe out of your working system for a while
Mm,
and try something new, and maybe be open to attend some workshops with not fit in your old world, but maybe could fit in your new world and to your new values. And this is
yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is extremely powerful, but it's often sometimes a bit overwhelming for people because they realize, oh my goodness, like,
Mm,
wow, where to begin? Like, where to begin? That's why a lot of people stop meditating or stop doing these personal development practices. But really, I mean, where do you want to be? Like, it's your choice.
yeah.
Do you want to be living this life that is kind of like pushed into a bottle with
Yeah.
kind of no expansiveness, or
Yeah.
do you want to be free, in your mind,
Hmm.
body, and spirit? Like, and it's just, yes, it takes time, but you don't have to stress. We've got all the time it needs, and if not this lifetime, then next lifetime. But take your
Mm,
time and just work with one thing at a time, and don't overwhelm yourself. I mean,
yeah.
geez, the journey never ends, which is actually a beautiful thing, not a shouldn't be a stressful
Mm,
thing. It should be an exciting thing, because then you've always got something to work on yourself, and
mm,
it's challenging, and try to it's just a different point of view. You can look as challenges as something tricky and complicated and scary, or you can look at challenges as something exciting and, ooh, how am I going to solve this problem now, and like,
yeah.
what am I going to do to make it work, and let's be creative and let's think outside
Yeah.
the box.
Yeah, this is where life gets interesting and where life gets challenging, and it's not like the way or the path is easy. Sometimes it's easy, and sometimes it could be really hard. But in this time, the growth is so much, and you grow in a new kind of personality maybe,
Yeah.
and you try to solve things differently than other people, and so you also have like success, like on a financial basis maybe, or more on a personal basis in your relationships. And yeah, and I think it's really good advice to begin this journey and to go on the first step, maybe also in these times and the coronavirus and in the lockdown times, to yeah, to take this courage to leave maybe your old habit patterns. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, it's a perfect time for this, absolutely.
Mhm. And you do a lot of things like to facing these fears and to facing like also uncomfortable situations. And I saw you, I already mentioned it, in this work with Gülscha. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about the practices you made, like you scream into cushions and you're really like crying and screaming.
Yeah.
What has this to do with going on this path and doing this inner work for yourself?
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of the exercises that we do, they might seem or look a little bit weird or strange or unusual. And it's basically just because we've never seen it, we've never been invited to do something like this before. Had it been
Yeah.
introduced to us in kindergarten, which I highly, highly recommend, um, then it would be a norm. Yeah, but because it's not a
Yeah.
norm, I do. Unfortunately, that we have been conditioned in so many ways, and due to all of this, a lot of tension, a lot of stress has been built up in our bodies, a lot of illness as well.
Mhm.
People who have migraines or people who have constant belly tension. I mean, when you feel angry, yeah, it gives an emotion in the body immediately. When you feel jealous, immediately. These, and
Mhm.
then when you have these emotions, it doesn't just then disappear. Something happens in your body, in your system, and some often it then stays there. Certain, like, it's like you're planting seeds of
Yeah.
unhealthiness in your body, throughout your body. It's true.
Nice
and
picture.
and I mean, yeah, tests have been made on water. If you talk bad to the water, and then it won't crystallize as beautifully as if you talk nice to it. So these are all things that, and if we're made out of 70% or 80% of water, then I mean, you can count one and one together. So of course, if there's so much conditioning and so much stress in our bodies that we're unaware of, then we do these emotional release tools or these practices where you, yeah, release these stuck emotions. And so then you might be screaming in a pillow, or
Mhm.
you might be jumping up and down like a little kid who doesn't get his chocolate that he wants. Um,
Mhm.
we do these movements, and basically it's all to do with getting out of the mind and really allowing yourself to get into your body and feel what is really alive in my body right now, without me having to put on a
Yeah.
smiley face, like what is really there. And sometimes
Mhm.
we're when you start to connect with your body and disconnect with the mind and really just focus on your body inside, then you'll be surprised what comes out.
Yeah.
Like people, like we have this authentic movement practice where you go into the middle and you express yourself without thinking. And it is fascinating
Mhm.
to see where people go to when they're not thinking. If they would sit in the middle and,
Mhm.
and have to speak and introduce themselves. Oh, I'm this and this, I come from there and there, and blah 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 blah, and the ego kicks in, and um,
Yeah.
or if you tell them not to talk, drop the mind, get into your body and express your truth. What is
Mhm.
right now, in this very minute? What's alive in you now? Then you'll see people crying and screaming, and then they come out of it, and it's like, whoa, what just happened? And then the shame comes up, like, oh, I should be embarrassed because I was screaming. And that, because why does this shame come up? Is because our conditioning, again, the people who were from the outside see someone screaming and crying. So what do they think? They're then thinking like, oh, did she have a bad day, or blah blah blah, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
and their stories in their minds go on and on. Now,
Mhm.
all of this, of course, with all these behaviors, is not helping you. But what happens in the training is that they start more and more to this starts to become more and more natural, this way of expressing yourself. So what happens
Mhm.
is more and more of your truth comes out, and instead of feeling ashamed about it, you actually feel liberated. You actually
Mhm.
feel liberated, that you don't have to play a fucking role, pardon my English. You don't have to put
Yeah.
on a face or a mask. You can just be yourself, and no one judges you. You're not judged for
Yeah.
whatever it is that comes out. In fact, they hold the space for you to be able
Mhm.
to allow yourself to be who you are, to be authentic with what is alive in you. And through this holding and through this deep watching and deep listening, of your brothers and sisters, this compassion arises, this deep love arises, and it is so much deeper, seeing, allowing yourself to be seen when you're crying or screaming or in heartache or in shame, when you allow yourself to show your truth, even if it's disgusting or embarrassing or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
the liberation that comes after it, and seeing that people like almost almost love you more for it,
Nice.
in that deep vulnerability, you know, that you allow yourself to go
Mm.
into. And then this
Mm.
compassion arises and the love arises, and then magic happens when everyone can just be themselves without being judged. And through understanding
Yeah.
that, oh, okay, maybe I fucked up in my life, maybe I treated someone really badly in the past, and maybe it's okay to say that that was me in a past life, but I don't want that anymore.
Mhm.
I want to get out of that. I want to get out of those habits. I want to let go of whatever addiction you have or whatever bad habits that you're doing that aren't serving you or others. And through like opening up with these shadows or these dark secrets that you never shared with anyone because you're so afraid that they're going to judge you or leave you. In this space that we hold, there's only love, there's only understanding, there's only compassion, and there's so much growth for each individually.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you. And yeah, I also make my path on this journey. I did several men's work groups. So, like deep masculine practice, or just meeting some men every 2 weeks, and we meditate together. We also do like this kind of work, like this shadow work, body work, and tantric work as well. And yeah, it's really liberating. And it's so interesting because you said the vulnerability, and men, we have some kind of issues with this. Yeah, so we want to be strong and hard, and this is so, it's like the old thinking. Yeah, and now it could be really liberating just to be as a man, like vulnerable, like soft, and like experience these different emotions. That's why we're here on earth. And yeah, I love it, like you talk about this topic like so passionate and so yeah, it's just so interesting to listen to that. Yeah. And it's, yeah, it's also like this shamanic practices. So when we go to like the natives and shamans, they also have these practices like dancing and screaming and doing things. So we would say it's weird, but it's an emotional release, isn't it?
Yeah, in the end, you know, I personally believe that everything that we suppress, any emotion, any
Yeah.
experience, anything that didn't serve us, if we keep it in us, in our system, in our mind, in our thoughts, in our emotions, if we store it in our bodies, it's eventually going to come out as sickness, as illness,
Yeah.
as hatred, as anger, as it's going to express itself one way or the other. Why? Because that's the natural flow of life. You know,
Mhm.
there's no. It's going to explode at one time. It will come
Yeah.
out. It's just not going to come out pretty. You know, so I
Mm.
often tell my students, like, look, better to be a bit crazy in here in a safe space than
Yeah.
crazy at home going to bed, you know, or
Yeah. There's effect on your sleep and on your energy and on your emotions. Yeah.
yeah. And so many, I mean, so many people are
Still
like,
there?
when you look at them in the eyes, they hold so much anger. They hold so much frustration because probably they haven't lived the life they wanted to. You know, been forced to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like we're lucky. We're not. I mean, a lot of us Westerners are so privileged. There's no slavery or very little in the West.
Yeah.
And and these days, like we have the power and the control to actually make a change. Back in certain eras, they did not have this
Mm-hmm.
privilege and these rights to actually do things, make a change or choose which job or choose which lifestyle you want to have. So we're really in an incredible time.
Yeah, indeed. And when you now talk about your work again, and I was here on your website, and the first thing, there's a question. So, what is the Tantric and Shamanic Arts experience about? So maybe you can tell us what this Tantric and Shamanic Arts are about, and also like you were the first like a little bit kind of expert in this kind of thing here on the podcast, and I think many listeners and also many people out there, they question a little bit the tantra movement, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that. So because the most people, they think, okay, this is sex and this is get involved sexual with each other, but this is not true,
So
right?
yeah, sure. A lot of people have a misunderstanding around the word tantra. They think it's all about sex and raising the sexual energy and how to get the best orgasm and so on. So basically, in the traditional or in tantra, you'll find in the scripts it's only around 7 or 8%
Hmm.
actually about the focus on sexuality, not like exploring each other sexually. However, the word sex first has to be properly understood in tantra. Sex, the way we know it, is when a when two people make love together. That's what we understand as sex. But in tantra,
Yeah.
the actual meaning of sex is is love. It's it's
Hmm.
uh, it's two magnets. It's anything that pulls each other. So it's a plus and a minus, or it's two energies that are drawn towards each other. So basically, in meditation, what actually happens is that your masculine and your feminine energy, we all have masculine and feminine energy, when you reach samadhi or any deep silence, deep connection with yourself, with the source, then, or however you want to call it, then it's basically these two energies making love. It's the
Hmm.
balance of the masculine and feminine energy that are making love within your being, so they are having sex. So sex has to first be understood. It's a bee pollinating flowers. It's the inhale, the exhale. It's
Yeah.
whatever magnet. It's this pool of energy that you can't. When you eye gaze with someone who like just like this chemistry where you feel the sexual arousement inside of you. It's like, oh, this pool of energy. Yeah. That's basically
Hmm.
what happens, with with life constantly in nature. It happens all the time. It's
Yeah.
all the time. So this word sex first has to be properly understood in tantra. Then, of course, there's so many different lineages and so many different teachers teaching different things. You can focus on yoni lingam massages and all these things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sure a lot of it is it's all interesting and why not, but it's not my personal focus. It's not my personal preference. It's also not what I see as tantra. It's a part of tantra or of life, as you wish. Mm,
Yeah.
Personally, how I like to the way I approach the Tantra, or the way I like to share Tantra, is giving people, putting people into exercises where they discover
Hmm.
themselves, more about themselves, where they come to
Wow.
find out what is it, like, how can I find more strength? How can I find more courage? What is holding me back in life? All these questions that are going to support you to become the best version of yourself, we
Hmm.
will learn with other people. Like, so basically, when we do practices together, the other people are basically just there to support your journey, to be a mirror for you, for your inner truth. So they are allowing you,
Hmm.
they are reflecting your truth. So they are just there for you to become aware of what it is that you need to see, that you're not seeing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very well explained, although. And yeah, so basically, you're this what I call a biohacker, like giving the people the tools to explore themselves and to explore other kinds of consciousness. And this is what Tantra is about. And I'm
Mm.
here on Kopangan, so here it's a really big tantric movement. And yeah, you're also like, I heard stories of the red tantra and white tantra. What do you think about this one?
The red tantra, black tantra, purple tantra,
Ah, black, yeah,
pink tantra.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's all sorts of stuff going on and circulating. Look, all I can say is, whenever Tantra is a beautiful path, it is definitely not an easy path. It
Mhm.
is the most challenging path I've ever taken, but the most interesting and alive and orgasmic path as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, maybe talking a little bit about orgasmic. So if someone, so basically in my trainings, especially in the 11-day, the longer I have people, the more we can go deeper. But in these 11-day trainings, for example, it's definitely orgasmic, but it's not in the way that that people think of orgasm, or you know,
Hmm.
what they think it means. So it's completely, it will take you to places you cannot, you cannot put in words, or you cannot grasp, or like I can't even show, like I could never put it on camera even, or in a video, because people would be so shocked or so like confused, because what the mind perceives and what we see and what we make out of it is just, again, conditioning. It's all conditioning. You have to actually experience it on your own body, in your own soul, and really listen closely to constantly questioning, is what the teacher is saying, no matter if I'm or any other space holder, is what the teacher is saying, does that resonate with me? Do I feel the same?
Hmm.
Is that a bunch of shit, or like what is, what, like, not just believing every word that any facilitator says. So basically, do your research whenever you, if you do want to go down into tantra, because I've had a lot of my customers, they come to me and they're like, I am so grateful to have found you, because all the trainings that they've done was so sexual, and like it can
Yeah.
even re-traumatize you. I have a lot of people who have had sexual abuses, or you know,
Hmm.
all kinds of really heavy things that come to these trainings to heal themselves. And if you
Hmm.
then go with already sexual abuse, and then you go into tantra field, and the teacher is not with the right intentions, or
Yeah.
maybe his intentions are not right for you, let's say it like that, um,
Yeah.
then you are going to be re-traumatized. You know, so really it is a delicate field that you just need to be aware of, what is it that you want, you know, because maybe
Hmm.
you want to learn how to do a lingam massage or a yoni massage, which by the way means penis and vagina in a more sacred way.
Yeah.
But maybe that interests you, so then, yeah, then you're not right at my training. then go and find someone who offers that. So first question yourself, what is it that you want to learn about Tantra, or
Yeah.
what caught your interest, and find a teacher that resonates with you. And you can get a bit of a feel when you go onto their websites and when you read how they promote it. If the headline is like, um, sexual orgasms or whatever, then it's going to be very sexual.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for a lot of women, like countless women have come up to me with like tears in their eyes, being like, thank you, thank you, thank you for offering these sessions, because they felt like giving up
Mhm.
because everyone was so focused on
Yeah.
sexuality. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a if you go down a sexual, if you just want to focus on, let's say, the sex as we know it, if that's your interest and you feel like, no, I just want to know how to whatever, you know heighten my sexual energy and da da da, if that's all you're focused on, then sure, a training like that can possibly help you a lot, but in my personal belief, I like it is really interesting, and I can say this because of witnessing my students. Sometimes, like, I can see their impatience, some of them, that thought it's more sexual or more hands-on, so I can see their
Mhm.
impatience
Yeah.
growing. And as the time goes by in the trainings, and we're doing all different kinds of things but what they thought that they will be doing. And but then in the end of the training, when once they give in and just surrender to, okay, it's not what I thought it was, oh well, let's just do the best out of what we have here, then they all, in the end of the training, they come to me like, wow, what just happened? I can't believe this actually happened. And then
Ah.
they tap into a huge, like, they just get so much understanding, and it opens their sexual energy and
Mhm.
their it's I can't even put it in words. There's so much happens, but
Yeah.
like, if I would take it to my own self, I have not once learned how to gone to study how to do a yoni massage. I've received a yoni massage, but I've never wanted. It was not
Mhm.
my personal interest to learn it or to teach it. So I never studied it.
Mhm.
However, from all the people that I was connecting with sexually in my past, not once did I feel I wasn't able to satisfy my partner, um,
Mhm.
ever since I'm on this path. And it had nothing to do with learning how to touch the right spot or how to,
Yeah.
it had more to do with deep listening and observing the other and understanding how to communicate with each other what we like and don't like without being offended or taking things personal. So all of these things helped way more than learning some kind of, like, oh, okay, touch here and do this, and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Mhm. And there's also a really controversial, but very interesting though topic is the open relationships. Yeah, and
And by the
often
way, sorry,
connected with this like of sorry.
I just wanted to add on that again. I've already said it before,
Yeah.
but I don't mean to be dissing my colleagues who, like, I have a lot of friends who teach yoni lingam massages, and I do think it's a
Yeah.
wonderful thing. If you ever get a chance, definitely, if you feel safe and comfortable enough, it is an
Yeah.
interesting path. But yeah.
Yeah. But it's not your approach. Yeah. I
It's
think the audience.
what I was just trying to say is I don't believe in like, um I don't, in order for your sexual life to really switch on and being fully fulfilled with yourself and with others, I don't believe that you will get there through the fast track. There's not a fast track.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Understand.
it's
Okay.
like it's a bigger
All right.
picture. It's much bigger than just learning a, yeah, it will help you, but it's not going to, yeah, I think.
It is after. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for this deep insights. Yeah. Yeah, and I just asked the question before, and it's also like this movement of like open relationships and like having different partners throughout the way. What do you think about this? Is this like it's like a new trend, or yeah? What is your what do you think about it?
You mean multiple partners or open relating and
Yes.
polyamory and all this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, well, my personal belief is if it interests you, try it. Like, try it out
Hmm.
and always be honest.
Yeah. Really,
And
really important.
there's
Yeah.
like a golden rule. The things that you don't want to, that you feel like you don't want to share, those are the things you need to share.
Hmm. Hmm.
Things that
Yeah.
feel
So it
difficult
was.
for you to share with your partner or partners, those are the things that you need to share. So
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
really good thing to rule to keep coming back to, or that will save you a lot of trouble. And
Yeah.
yeah, just honesty is definitely the only way
Yeah.
when open relating. And you need to have a lot of trust, and it can
Mm.
be quite messy and quite complicated if there is no open, honest
Communication.
communication. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
important. Like, if
Mm.
you do not know how to communicate, definitely do courses on conscious communication or how to communicate in
Mhm.
polyamorous relationships and so on and so forth. Is definitely worth looking into, because otherwise you're just gonna end up suffering and hurting others.
Yeah.
But
Then at
it
your.
can be, it can be a beautiful path. I feel like polyamory is, for me personally, again,
Mhm.
it's it's wonderful if you haven't found, like, let's say, the right
The right one.
person.
Mm.
Yeah, like, if,
Mhm.
because the thing is, there was a moment in time in my life where I was like, oh, I will never go monogamous. I will never be in a monogamous relationship ever again, because for me it just
Mhm.
was not true. I just
Yeah.
felt in that phase. I was like, love is freedom, love is open, like, you can't hold people back, and all of this. I wasn't teaching this per se, by the way, but it was just my personal
Yeah.
belief. However, when I then came across someone that I felt like, wow, I actually don't feel interested in anyone else. I don't want to connect with anyone else. I'm so
Mhm.
happy to spend all my time with this person.
Mhm.
That's when I think a natural form of monogamy arises. But it's not like forcing the other. You're not allowed to be with anyone else. It's your own choice. And I
Mhm.
think there lies the big difference. It's your
Mhm.
own choice, because you don't want to, you don't feel the need to. You're just fully satisfied with that person. But then, of course, you might be 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the line. You might still feel fully satisfied with that person, but then maybe you're just curious, of something new, of a
Yeah.
of a new. So then it can actually bring your relationship sexually back alive. Like, I've heard from a lot of people who have been open relating in long-term relationships, that it has
Yeah.
actually helped them connect more, and feel more alive and more full. And so it's helped their relationships in the end. But it's of course not for everyone, and I
Mm.
definitely would not recommend it to you if you are a very jealous person, or
Yeah.
if it's like no, if your body is saying no, then listen to it, then don't do it, then it's definitely not for you, you know.
Mm.
And that's
I,
okay.
I,
It's like,
yeah. Yeah, like really the way you always tell to people, okay, listen to yourself and listen to your own personality and your own experience. So I think this is really important in this kind of um, yeah relationship. And I know that a lot of people, like, it's more on a basic of lying and or of not saying. Yeah, and so this is maybe really really difficult because sometimes then it will just explode and then you have a really hard time as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And where can the people or the audience get into this practice with you, in this tantric and shamanic arts, like you call it?
Hmm. Where they can.
Yeah.
So now, because of the whole coronavirus, it's all a bit in the air, all in the unknown.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
um, I bought land in Kopangan, where you are now.
Ah, okay, nice.
So
Where?
yeah, so my vision was to build a center there, because I've been for the last 3 years just moving around and teaching, and it's become quite stressful and been using a lot of
Yeah.
energy. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to have a base again where I just know everything works, and
Yeah.
it's,
I feel you.
I have a space where I can just open the door and start, not having to
Yeah,
build
and
up.
Copenhagen is the right place for that, I think.
Yes,
We're
yes,
also considering. Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, it's really a beautiful island. So, however, my partner also bought land in Portugal, and before we met
Mhm.
each other, so we both had the same idea, but just in different places. And it was funny because I had also, when I bought the land in Kopangan, I couldn't make up my mind, Portugal or Kopangan, and then I met my partner who has land in Portugal. So now we have land in two places, but we don't know where to start the process. So what we are basically doing now is we are surrendering to the cosmos, basically, and just going to wait and
Yeah.
see where we are now in Goa. We're going to wait and see where the borders open first. So if the borders to Thailand open first, or the borders
Yeah.
to
Okay.
Portugal open first, that's where we will go, and probably where we will then start building.
Ah, okay. So you let decide the universe.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for your work and for your insights here inside your work. It was really interesting. I think we can do like another hour and talk about these different topics. But I think your website is a good address to get to know more about you, about your workshops, about your work with the clients. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Maharamakay.info, or also on Instagram, Maharamakay.
Yeah, on
Uh,
Instagram.
you can see things there. I normally advertise there as well. Whenever we hold
Mhm.
workshops or trainings, I am invited to hold a 2 day seminar around emotional release in Bern in Switzerland, and
Ah,
one in the third weekend in July in Zurich. So if I'm allowed to by then fly and hold trainings, then
yeah.
I will be in Switzerland in July, August, probably holding
Oh,
different things. If anyone is
oh,
interested to just be, informed, they can also just send me an email for the number for maharamakay@gmail.com.
yeah.
Maybe you can just write it on the bottom or something. Yeah, and then we can keep you
Okay.
informed.
Yeah. Hopefully, we are in Switzerland as well in
Ah,
August, and
cool,
maybe, yeah,
cool.
maybe we can come together and
Yeah,
practice. So
awesome.
that would be really nice. And I can do the links into the show notes, and then the people, I think they can get back to you on Instagram for more information. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah,
All
that's very
right.
kind of you. Thank you.
Okay. When you have like one vision for the future for the tantric and shamanic work you do, so what would that be, and what you will give advice to people who may be starting or want to start now after listening to this podcast, maybe?
So I just lost you in the last sentence. Do you remember your last sentence? My advice.
Yeah. And what? Yeah, to the people who just started with this podcast maybe and are now interested in this kind of personal growth and practices.
Can you hear me?
Understand that?
Hello, hello.
Now you're way. Huh? Mahara, you hear me? Hello? Hello.
So I'm not sure if you can hear me,
Lost your connection.
but I suppose it's recording, so I'm just going to. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question properly, but
Mahara?
my personal vision for this work, I would love to have a space in nature where I could, where I can just hold all the rituals and all the practices and, like, immerse, like, for people to really be away, like wherever this center will be. I really hope it will be away from traffic and noise, and so that they really can sink in with nature and get the proper download and proper understanding of the power of Mother Earth, of of all the elements. So that's basically my dream, is just to have a center where people can come in and out, and hopefully, like, we don't have to spend so much energy in promoting stuff anymore, so that I can just keep it going, and then the people just change.
Just keep it
And
in flow.
yeah, that would be beautiful. Then I can really, because I've got so much energy and um, interest to share this work, and it's just every time such magical. It's so magical to witness people going through this process and seeing them change. Even in the 3-day trainings, it's unbelievable the way everything that they understand, and they're not the same anymore. They really start seeing the world from a different angle, and it's just beautiful. It's just seriously beautiful to watch how quickly we are able to change, and how quickly we can let go of our conditionings, or at least properly see them.
Well, I'm fascinated you as a person, as a coach, and by your work. And I definitely will follow your journey. And maybe in Portugal, maybe in Copangan. I like both places, and I visited both places in this year. And I think it's really, really good to do this work and to create such a loving space. And I wish you all the luck I have
Thank you
for
so
you.
much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I look forward to meet you, hopefully in Switzerland.
I hope you enjoyed this interview with Mahara Mckay. Super exciting topic, and I think Mahara has cleared up some prejudices and misunderstandings about Tantra in this conversation. The conversation was recorded a few months ago where I was in Copangan and Mahara was still in India. Meanwhile, we are both back in Europe and Switzerland, and the good news is Mahara is currently giving workshops again. There are still some free places for day workshops in Bern and Zurich, and from the 15th to the 22nd of August, Mahara and her team will lead an 8-day transformation retreat in the Swiss Alps, a tantric and shamanic art experience, as she would call it. Amongst others, you can experience powerful breathwork sessions, shadow work, emotional release, meditations and sound healing, and many, many more. For more infos, please visit maharamckay.info or click on the link mentioned in the show notes. Mahara shares also a lot on her Instagram channel, which you will find in the show notes as well. If you would like to discuss this controversial topic, please visit my Instagram page at robin.stolberg and comment on the IGTV. I'm looking forward to connect with you, and we will hear us in the next episode.